Welcome to the Wisp Mama Bear Podcast, episode 32. I'm your host, Sarah Yacoub. Today's topic, alternate realities. Well, it's the last Tuesday of 2020 in the week between Christmas and New Year's. That is always so surreal. The kids are not in school. My husband and I have to work, sort of. I find myself having to think hard about what day it is, and the fact that I manage to wear pants is more so a function of having kids in the house over the age of 1 than anything else. As I described this week, it certainly sounds like a lot of booze is involved, but no, it's just the week between Christmas and New Year's. Throws me every time. Is today's episode about adulting during the holidays? Sadly, no, although that definitely sounds fun. Unfortunately, we have a lot of political ground to cover, so let's dive in. As we look at the federal COVID stimulus package, let's recap. Swamp Creature, aka United States Secretary of the Treasury, Steven Mnuchin, negotiating on Trump's behalf, ironed out a COVID relief package that passed both the House and Senate with a veto-proof majority. Mnuchin himself suggested the $600 in relief. Democrats advocated for more, but Republicans refused to pass anything over $600. $600 times 328 million people equals just shy of $200 billion, or 196.8 to be exact. This bill is for over $900 billion. Where did the rest go? We'll get there shortly. Despite the bill being something crafted with Trump's signature in mind, despite him personally advocating for things like the 3 martinis lunches, that which was an ultimate deal breaker, either taxpayers pick up the tab for gluttonous corporate lunches and corporate welfare, or no relief for anyone. Despite Trump's boy Mnuchin being the one who came up with the $600 check as the relief for Americans, Trump threw a fit. Why? He claimed to want $2,000 for every American instead of $600. Side note, how is it that it's socialism when Democrats advocate for $2,000, but rugged American first capitalism when Trump advocates for it? It's the same $2,000. See the power of contextual narratives? Over the past 20-30 years, conservative talk radio and Fox News have made a killing manipulating narratives in furtherance of influencing how people think as a means to an end for more money and power for them and their friends. Pretty sick, huh? Side note, I'm in a bit of a pickle. On the one hand, I would love for you to continue to join me in my podcast as we weed through and unpack what's going on politically, especially here in Wisconsin. On the other, the more I dive in and illuminate how ugly politics is, I can certainly understand why talking about it makes it that much more unappealing to think about and deal with. Anyway, I digress. Trump could have used his political capital to personally fight for relief for working families, and announce that the failure to provide it would be a deal breaker. But he didn't. He reserved those efforts for corporate welfare and those hoarding all of the money in this country to get yet another tax break off of the backs of hardworking Americans. Okay, well, at least he signed the bill. It's not perfect, but at least it's something, right? Well, here's the deal. Trump spent the extended Christmas weekend golfing. You know, because nothing says the birth of Jesus like funneling our tax dollars into his personal businesses. Despite receiving the bill for signature on Christmas, he sat on it. While he eventually signed it, his seemingly arbitrary delay cost anywhere between 11 and 14 million Americans their unemployment relief for the week, all because Trump decided it wasn't worth his time to timely sign the bill. So was that delay truly arbitrary? Maybe not. The bill contains a deadline by which the feds have to cut checks of January 15th, 2021. 3 weeks would have meant Trump signing the bill when he got it on Christmas. Checks not cut by the 15th have to wait until folks file their 2020 taxes. What does that mean? Americans with direct deposit will see relief. Those without direct deposit will more likely than not have to wait. I have to imagine those who need the relief the most, for example, the single parent working 2 to 3 jobs just to get by, isn't someone who has the time on their hands to jump through all the hoops for something like direct deposit. Trump's delay in signing the bill is effectively like waving a carrot of relief in the noses of millions of Americans and then saying, nope, as he pulls that carrot away. The difference between political theater and that which gluttonous fat cat politicians want us to see, hear, and believe, and reality, is always so disappointing, ugly, and gross. I wonder if the more than $700 billion of the $900 billion relief package will go out seamlessly without delay. On its face, it certainly looks like it's only the $200 billion in relief for hardworking Americans that is the part that's getting jammed up. Any politician who screws over working families in America should not get reelected. Period. And that goes for both parties. So what else is in this bill? $325 billion in aid for small businesses, $120 billion for unemployment assistance, $82 billion for education, $56 billion for healthcare, $45 billion for transportation, $40 billion for tax cuts, those 3 martini lunches, and $83 billion on other miscellaneous spending, which includes $7 billion on expanding access to broadband and $13 billion for agriculture. If you spend time on the social media of Trump's base of extremists, you might walk away believing that the COVID relief package spends hundreds of billions on foreign countries, and boy, are Trump fans not happy about it. Not surprisingly, that's not actually true. Foreign aid is not part of the COVID relief bill at all. The odd part is that it is Trump himself who asked for that foreign aid in his 2021 budget. It gets better. That which Congress did give him in a separate bill is exactly that which he requested. For example, as reported by the Washington Post, Trump's budget requested $1.3 billion for Egypt. What do you know? Congress gave him $1.3 billion for Egypt. Trump asked for $40,400,000 for the Kennedy Center. Again, Congress gave him $40 million for the Kennedy Center. Trump asked for $134 million for Myanmar. He got $131,450,000. The bill covering foreign aid, by and large, is exactly what Trump asked for. So, is he losing his mind and really does not know what he asked for in his 2021 budget? Does he not know as a function of laziness? Did he actually read his 2021 budget? Or is he the astute businessman he claims to be and is just exploiting the fact that his base isn't actually interested in fact-checking him? Think about it. Funding something like the Kennedy Center, viewed by many in his base as the epitome of liberalism and everything they hate. While it is easy to judge, I have to believe the fact that performing at or even attending an event at the Kennedy Center is not realistic for so many in his base. I can understand how that would breed resentment. Side note, I wonder how much of our current post-truth era anti-intellectualism, anti-education sentiment is rooted in resentful people who got denied by their universities of choice. Decades of universities like Harvard or Princeton telling people they're not good enough. I'm not surprised that we have a bunch of people saying, well, screw you. We don't care what you have to say. I'm mildly convinced insecurity is the root of all evil. Its sibling, inferiority, is no less scary or toxic. Get enough people with an inferiority complex together, and there is a lot of energy or power in that pain and accumulated rage. So how else is this alternate reality rearing its ugly head? Spend some more time on that social media of any given local extremists, and one would think that evil Nancy Pelosi is the reason the Kennedy Center or foreign countries are getting aid. One would think that Donald Trump is the champion of working families and that the Republicans are just surrendering to the evil Democrats. The logic starts to break down as it is not clear who they think wanted to limit relief to $600 or which party is voting against $2,000. To be clear, Democrats are fighting for $2,000 in relief for Americans. Republicans in the House, like #TraitorToxicTom, aka Tom Tiffany, voted against it. Republicans in the Senate, like #RussianRon, aka Ron Let Them Eat Cake Johnson, will kill the bill and Donald Trump will never actually see it. Of course, had Donald actually cared, he could have, personally advocated for the $2,000 relief during negotiations and proclaimed the issue to be a deal breaker. Instead, he let the deal go through and then jumped up and down in furtherance of a pretty transparent display in response to rightful outrage of his base. Donald Trump screwed over every single working American in this bill, and for the first time perhaps ever, his base is within sniffing distance of realizing the betrayal. There is a scene in The Lion King in which the hyenas realize that Scar is using them and eat him. Side note, Scar is among many Disney versions of the archetype of someone with antisocial and or narcissistic personality disorder. The other one that comes to mind is Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. Who said Disney movies weren't educational? Anyway, back to Donald Trump. Seems like we keep getting close, either with how he defrauded millions who donated for the infamous wall, or the heartbreaking and shameless way he speaks of our military. But no. actually screwing with the livelihood of hardworking Americans, which includes his base, in a way in which we feel the pain in real time, finally exposes him in a way that he hasn't been exposed before. After 4 years, however, of not only defending but celebrating their support of Trump, to concede now that yes, he really is a con artist is understandably demoralizing. On top of that, that concession means that the liberals, the evil liberals, were in fact right. I guess the question then becomes, are we as Americans willing to put our ego second to the good of our country? Are we willing to shoulder the perceived humiliation of being conned to be a part of the solution and make things right? Are we willing to deal with the guilt of misleading our children in furtherance of our own misleading and now face having to wheel it back and trying to fix it? Lots of hard pills to swallow. Wouldn't it just be easier if Donald Trump were honest, wonderful, and truly cared about working Americans? Absolutely. Of course it's easier, and therein lies the problem. How to get our fellow Americans to turn away from the path of least resistance and onto one that values truth over that which is easy? Now that is the $1 million question. Episode 33 tomorrow. See you there.